Welcome to Tales with Meaning, where we explore stories that resonate with the deepest parts of our hearts. Today's tale is one of suspense and subtlety, a story that begins with an ordinary day and a seemingly insignificant act. But as we delve deeper, you'll discover how a small, almost overlooked gesture spirals into something life-changing. What started as a mundane event quickly turns into a moment of truth, proving that the smallest gestures can indeed have the biggest impact. Stay with us as we unravel this gripping narrative, where the line between a simple action and a profound effect blurs in the most unexpected way. It was a chilly autumn morning in New York City, and the streets bustled with the usual chaos. People rushed past each other, eyes glued to their phones or fixated on the ground, absorbed in their own worlds. Among them was Emily, a young woman in her late 20s, dressed in a simple coat and scarf. She worked in an office downtown, her days blending into a routine that had become almost mechanical. Life had settled into a rhythm, one that left little room for surprises. As Emily walked towards the subway station, she noticed something out of the corner of her eye. A man, disheveled and shivering, was sitting on the cold pavement near the station entrance. His clothes were tattered, and his face was marked by hardship. Most people passed him by without a second glance, their busy lives leaving no time for distractions. Emily hesitated. She, too, was in a hurry, with a meeting scheduled in less than an hour. But something made her stop. Perhaps it was the look in the man's eyes and unspoken plea for acknowledgement. Without thinking, she reached into her bag and pulled out the sandwich she had packed for lunch. Bending down, she handed it to the man, who looked up at her with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Emily smiled and continued on her way, not giving the encounter much thought afterward. To her, it was a small gesture, something anyone might have done. Little did she know that this seemingly trivial act was the beginning of a chain of events that would alter the course of both their lives. Later that day, Emily was sitting at her desk, going through her emails, when her phone buzzed with a text from her friend Sarah. They hadn't spoken in a while, so the message caught her attention. "Hey, Em, are you free tonight? I have something important to discuss." Emily agreed, curious about what Sarah wanted to talk about. They met at their favorite cafe, a cozy place with dim lighting and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Sarah looked troubled as they sat down. "I know this might sound strange," she began, "but I've been thinking a lot about life lately. You know how fragile everything is. I ran into someone today, someone from my past, and it really shook me up." Emily listened as Sarah recounted her encounter with an old classmate who had fallen on hard times. The man had been a successful lawyer, but had lost everything through a series of unfortunate events. He was now homeless, battling demons that no one could see. "It made me realize," Sarah continued, "how easily we can lose everything, and how important it is to be kind, even in the smallest ways. You never know what someone is going through." Emily's mind flashed back to the man she had given the sandwich to that morning. Could it be the same person? The thought lingered as she walked home, the night air crisp against her face. She couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. A few weeks passed, and life carried on as usual. Emily had all but forgotten about the man outside the subway station, until one day, she received a letter in the mail. It was handwritten, the ink slightly smudged, and there was no return address. Inside was a note. "Dear Emily, you don't know me, but I wanted to thank you. A few weeks ago, you gave me a sandwich. At that moment, I was at my lowest, contemplating giving up on everything. Your kindness reminded me that there are still good people in the world. It gave me the strength to seek help. I've started attending a support group, and things are slowly getting better. I just wanted you to know that your small gesture saved a life. With gratitude, Michael." Emily was stunned. She read the letter over and over, her heart swelling with emotion. It was hard to believe that such a simple act, something she had done without much thought, had made such a profound impact. The man she had helped was now on the road to recovery, all because she had taken a moment to acknowledge him. But the story didn't end there. A few months later, Emily was at a charity event organized by her company. They were raising funds for a local homeless shelter, and she had volunteered to help out. As she was arranging items on one of the tables, a man approached her. He was well dressed, his hair neatly combed, and his eyes clear and bright. There was something familiar about him, but she couldn't quite place it. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice steady. "Are you Emily?" "Yes," she replied. Curiosity piqued. "I'm Michael. I believe you got my letter." Recognition dawned on her, and she felt a surge of emotion. Michael smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his eyes. "I wanted to thank you in person," he said. "I'm doing much better now, and I'm actually working with the shelter to help others who are going through what I went through. It's all thanks to you." Emily was at a loss for words. The transformation was incredible. Michael was almost unrecognizable from the man she had seen on the street that day. They talked for a while, sharing stories and catching up on the months that had passed. As the event wound down, Michael stood up to speak to the crowd. He talked about his journey, the struggles he had faced, and how a single act of kindness had set him on the path to recovery. His voice was strong, filled with conviction and hope, and the audience listened in rapt silence. When he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. People lined up to shake his hand, to thank him for sharing his story. And as Emily watched from the sidelines, she realized that her small gesture had not only changed one life, it had rippled out, touching countless others. Thank you for joining us on Tales with Meaning. Today's story reminds us that the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact. What might seem like a trivial act of kindness can be a lifeline for someone in need. In a world that often feels overwhelming and chaotic, it's these small moments of compassion that truly make a difference. So next time you have the chance to help someone, no matter how insignificant it might seem, remember this story. You never know just how far-reaching the effects of your kindness might be. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay kind and stay hopeful.